Well, g'day. My name's Elliot, and I'm from the band Battlesnake. And we just released our debut album. It's out everywhere, and you can buy it on vinyl. You can stream it. You can bloody do whatever you like with it. But we're really proud of it. And thanks heaps for the review. It was really thoughtful, I thought.
Yeah, I really enjoyed doing that one. It's sort of one of those ones where you can just shut your eyes and get carried away with the music and what's going on around you, and they're fun, a lot of fun to do.
Yeah. But you sometimes you get those reviews coming back and you're like, oh, did you put this through ChatGPT or something? Like, oh, have you even
listen to the first 15 seconds of it and make an opinion.
Yeah. No, but we really appreciate your time on that. It's amazing.
Well, the more I appreciate you putting out something quality worth writing about, bro.
Amazing.
So speaking of that, mate, Battlesnake released your self-titled debut album last week. So I know it hasn't been long, bro, but how's the early reception?
Yeah, it's actually, I mean, it's always a pleasure when you get a response. Like, we just make the music because we love it. And when people also love it, it's just a really pleasant surprise for us. There's been quite a surprising response, but we definitely did it. We released it intentionally just after the Pumpkins tour, so we can get as much traction as possible. But yeah, it's tracking quite nicely, if I'm honest. Yeah.
Oh, so tell us a bit about the album from a musical point of view and what you were going for with it.
Look, to be totally transparent, I initially personally set out for the album to be like kind of lighter in a way, and that, I mean, you've listened to it. That kind of didn't happen.
Maybe you touched.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's my that's the hangover of that thought. That's still lingering on to hanging on for dear life. But I mean, it is a heavy album, but musically, it's inspired by the inspirations are so broad and varied. Obviously, you would have heard like there's some Spanish guitars in there, and there's some big orchestras, and then there's your classic heavy metal and your thrash, and there's so much going on in there. But yeah, we just really enjoyed making the album because we feel like this kind of music is like the kind of music that we've always wanted to make.
Yeah, sure. And the album starts with a monologue of sorts, like setting the landscape for a fantastical journey through fuck knows, or wherever you want to go, basically. But what story is that first song telling? Like what landscape is it setting?
So I guess first off, I'd have to say that the huge inspiration of the album was the Bible, and you can probably tell. Yeah. But I think it's just a really fantastical text, and there's a lot of inspiration to be found in there. Revelations in particular is a particularly crazy book. There's so much crazy stuff in there. Like, you honestly, if somebody wrote that today and you read it, you'd be like, what am I reading right now? But yeah, so the album was really heavily inspired by the Bible. So Genesis 2 is kind of like, we're going to call the album the Bible 2.
Why not call that?
Yeah, which was perhaps like too on the nose, which is why we steered away from it. But in the end, we stuck with Genesis 2, and that's why. But that's kind of the first lines of the Bible are repeated in there, and morph and evolve until they move well truly into Battlesnake land.
All right. My only experience with the Bible, bro, I've never read it, but when Pulp Fiction first came out, they had that, the path of the righteous man, blah, blah, blah. And I said, right, I went for a shit one day, and I said, I'm taking the Bible, and I'm staying in there until I find that passage. 3.5 hours later, mate, I emerged, found it, ripped the page out, wiped my ass with it, threw it away, and went, fuck it.
Mate, it's a long book. But that just means there's a lot to be inspired by.
A lot of time to sit on the toilet. So overall, man, like, the album's got a heavy Black Sabbath vibe in parts. We sort of touched on this before, but it's also got heaps of rock, hard rock, metal. There's everything in there, mate. Like, it literally sounds like you threw everything in there and just kept stirring it until it stuck. Is that how you did it?
Definitely. And that's the that's like where you can sometimes come unstuck when you're trying to do that. Not I don't even know that we did that consciously, but that's just what happens with our music, I guess. And that's the tricky part, and that fine line that you need to walk, is that you can't be too. You have to be really meticulous about it sounding cohesive, because if there's so many influences in there, more often than not, it just starts to sound confused, and it's really difficult to listen to sometimes. So it has to be a melting pot for us. Like it's like smelting iron or gold or something. You have to, it's this perfect set of circumstances that turn all of these inspirations and ideas into a cohesive song.
So how do you find that balance, bro? Because like I said, what you do hasn't been done very often before, and it's a new, fresh style of metal, but you haven't really got anything to gauge it by. Like, so how do you know when you've gone too far, or how do you know when you can go a little bit further? Like, what's your parameters?
We have a rule. We have a rule in the band. Firstly, there are 7 of us in the band, so there's a lot of voices and a lot of ideas from a lot of creative people. But we do have a rule in the band, and the rule is this: that there are no dumb ideas, and you can't poo-poo an idea. You can't say no to an idea until we've tried it to death. So you might think that something's a bad idea, but that's just your opinion, and somebody else's opinion is just as valid. So we have to try this thing until it actually represents what the person has in their head. And if it still sucks, then it's gone.
Very diplomatic.
Oh, it has to be. It has to be. There's if we're not diplomatic, we would not survive. There's a lot of people.
Yeah, and with creativity comes tension too, like especially when you're doing something new and fresh.
Absolutely, yeah, big time. Oh, and I won't lie. Like there's definitely been a lot of tension in the creation of this album. Like big blow ups, of course. But generally speaking, it's been quite a pleasant experience for us.
So Battlesnake have come from seemingly nowhere in the last 12 months, bro. I'm sure it hasn't been that cut and dried, but there's a bit of a history on the band. Like say, like I hadn't heard of you until 2 months ago. Like you have come from nowhere, but I'm sure you haven't.
Yeah, that's that classic thing, right? Like there'll be some artist that pops up overnight, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, they came from nowhere!" And little do many people know that we've been, out on the road in Australia for years now, and just building that. I guess that's another thing. Like it's our first album, but it's definitely we've played so many live gigs together that I think that chemistry is really at a sweet spot now. Um, but yeah, we've been. I mean, I would like. That's great that it feels that way to you. I feel like it's really rewarding when people feel like you are coming to somewhere. You're reaching a goal or something. But we have been working hard for a long time. But we're really excited about what's happening.
Yeah. And your first big, and they don't get much bigger than this, mate. But your first big break came when you were asked to open for Kiss, mate. Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, wild. Very, very wild. I think that was somebody taking a punt on us, like maybe somebody wanting something fresh. I don't really know what they were thinking, but our booking agent put us forward for the gig, and the person the promoter who was booking the gig said, "Sure, why not? Let's give them a crack." And then the audience really loved it, and the promoter really loved it, and Kiss really loved it, and so we were asked back by the same promoter to do the Pumpkins tour.
Oh, right, cool. So you actually got feedback from Kiss. They actually watched your show?
Yeah, a couple of them did for sure. And we got to chat with a few of them, and yeah, they were really generous with their time.
Oh, that's awesome. And then, like you say, mate, like you were invited on the World as a Vampire tour with Smashing Pumpkins and Jane's Addiction, bro. So that was the first time I actually got to meet you guys, and you just look like you're having the time of your life, bro.
Oh, best shows. They're honestly the best shows of my life for sure. Like, um, I hope that's not the last big shows that we play, but because they were so much fun. I just want to be doing that all the time, literally all the time. The hangover is real. You know, yeah, I don't want to come back down to earth.
I was lucky enough to see you at 3 of those shows, bro, and you absolutely blew the crowd away every time. Like, I know how it felt from us watching you up there, man, but how did it feel for you guys up on stage, right, looking out and just seeing that mass of people just getting off on every fucking thing you did?
We love it. That's what inspires me the most, I reckon, is particularly now. This is kind of a bit of a new era for us, having like not a by no means a massive fan base, but we've got fans in a lot of places, and it's really, really rewarding to see people vibing out to our music. Like people actually like it, and it's so nice to see. It's I can't really describe it, but anybody who's made music and then played a gig and people are singing their songs, you're like, shit, this is so cool.
Before the album even came out, they were singing these songs, bro.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess it's like because I guess what it is that you know what it's like to be inspired, totally overwhelmed by inspiration of music as a child or as an adult. You know what that's like. And then for some people, when like young people, older people, to be like you're that to them is wild. It's so I love it so much. I love it so much.
Yeah, good on you, man. As great as your music is too, though, man, like your live show complete with costumes and theatrics elevates things to another level. So tell us what's going on there. Is there an actual theme, or is it just a bit of everything thrown together?
I mean, the theme, I guess it's kind of like, I don't want to say it is medieval in a way, but our costumes, in the same way that our music does, draws on many inspirations. And I guess what we used to only wear the speedos on stage, and that was just kind of a funny happenstance moment where the guy who works for the company, he was like, he was just happened to be at a show one day, and he was like, oh, I can sort you guys out with some swimmers or whatever. We're like, yeah, 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 whatever. Anyway, it turned out he was actually good for it, and emailed us and was like, seriously, I can get you these custom speedos, and it just happened organically like that. And then for this tour, we thought, well, we really have to actually step it up now. We've been playing in the speedos for years, and it's time to step up the costume game. And then we ended up just, I guess, I don't know, just found these cool robes, and then we got them all like bedazzled and stuff by a friend of ours.
It looks fucking awesome, bro. But like, as your career goes on, mate, and like as more albums come out, like, are your outfits going to reflect the change in your music and your albums, or are they going to stay constant?
Big time. I mean, we're so inspired by bands like Kiss, who have kind of, it's the same brand, and it's the same recognizable brand, but it's evolved and evolved and evolved over the years. It's still totally recognizable. You see a Kiss show, you're seeing a Kiss show, but they're still adapting and evolving and making it bigger and better all the time. So that's kind of what I want to be doing.
And then another element of your music too, mate, is the humor in like your look and your lyrics. But as much as humor plays a big part, the music always comes first, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like we like to keep it light. Definitely like to keep it light in terms of, as you can see in our costumes, but we like to keep it light. And but the music is, as you said in your review, actually, that like we take the music seriously in terms of how tight we are on stage, and the like content of the music as well. We like to have it to be quite rich, I reckon.
So if there's people, I'm sure there are people out there like me that know stuff all about you guys at the moment. So give us a couple of sentences, like describe Battlesnake and your music to us for the uninitiated, make them want to come and check you guys out.
Hmm. Well, how do we say it? It's the spawn of Queen and Judas Priest and Black Sabbath and War and all these great bands. Kind of, you put them in the outback for 6 years with no food, no water, and then have this like little commune, and they breed together, and they end up becoming have these children, and the children is us. They've had 7 children, these bands, and each one having varied interests, but that's us. And then we kind of ventured from the outback to the city to Sydney, and found these. We were naked when we arrived, and we found these costumes. These costumes. We put them on, and then all of a sudden we're playing shows on stage. That's kind of the story, I guess.
Magnificent. And again, give me 2 Battlesnake songs that people should listen to, should become acquainted with the band.
Well, probably my favorite off the record is "I'm the Vomit." That's the second track. And a crowd favorite is always our first ever single called "Nightmare King."
Yeah, cool, bananas. And what do you guys got coming up, mate? Like, your album was out last week. What else is coming up? You got any shows planned or anything else?
Yeah, album's out last week. We've got a music video coming out shortly for one of the songs on the record, and we've got a tour coming up in July and August. And other than that, world's our oyster. Second half of 2023. I hope it's as good as the first half.
Or can you tell us any more about the tour, mate? Has anything been announced on that yet, or that's under your eyes for now?
No, it's released and on sale. We've got what have we got? Sydney, Newcastle, Gold Coast, Sunny Coast, Brisbane, Ballarat, Melbourne, Frankston. I think that's it. I mean, I want to get back to Adelaide. Tell you what was one of my favorite shows was Adelaide.
Yeah, right.
Which was interesting. I don't know. I feel like Adelaide and Newcastle and Goldie, like I feel like places who don't always get music, they don't always get the touring acts coming through. They have this really massive appreciation when people do actually come through. So like they're just so responsive. It's crazy. They just love it.
Did you guys do the gig at the castle?
Oh man.
How was that?
Love that place. So good. I'm going back. Yeah, we love that show. That was one of the best ones for sure.
Yeah, and how'd you go with your outfits, mate? They would have thought you were part of the furniture.
Yeah, and that was the first show actually that Billy, our keytar player, he climbed up the trusses and the scaffolding and was kind of hanging off in midair and everything. It was pretty fun.
Okay, all right, bro. Well, thanks very much for your time tonight, Elliott. The album, self-titled album, is out now, and if you haven't read the review yet, it's a bloody damn good album. So get your ears around it. Where can people get themselves a copy of it or download it?
You can buy the vinyl on our website, or you can download digitally on Bandcamp, or you can stream it as the last option. You can stream it. Oh, as much as we love you, Spotify, please, Spotify, we love you. But I mean, we like how much more money do we make off one record sale than 100,000 streams? It's crazy. But that's where you can find them. I'm just sounding bitter and old here.
You got every right to be, brother. You create something like that, you deserve to be paid handsomely.
Thank you, Kris.
No worries, bro. All right, man. Well, thanks again, and I'll definitely be catching up with you when you come on this side of the border in July.
100%. And thanks for all your support. Really appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure, bro. We'll catch up soon.
Playing his V8 6 off pipe organ. shepherd's corpse, firstborn for main course. And daddy's hungry, he needs his grub, and mummy's feeding from her demon jugs, a pus mucus and gastric juice.